guys, let's chat. Let's talk about Saturday. So Saturday, I noticed that something weird happened on Saturday. I woke up in generally a good mood. I wasn't generally agitated or irritated about anything, and still there was weird stuff going on. Like I don't know if it's been only me or if you felt this way, but I felt restless. Like I felt like my heart beating fast. I felt like I didn't really get a lot of sleep the night before, which led me to feel really tired on Saturday. And just I remember going in the shower and coming out feeling like boxed in. Like I felt like I need to get away, but I was in my own house. So like I just remember just stopping and thinking like, what's up with that? Like why? What is triggering this? Because I hadn't really been stressed lately to be feeling. I've had anxiety before and I could pinpoint like the triggers to that, but in this particular case there wasn't anything particularly that I was stressing out. Life's been pretty chill lately, and so it was like, why? Like the heck? Like why would I feel stressed out this way? And then I looked down on my phone and found the common denominator. So my group chats since Wednesday, texts, coronavirus, Facebook timeline, coronavirus, Twitter, coronavirus, Instagram, coronavirus, work email updates, the coronavirus, church updates, the coronavirus. It's like literally we can just go ahead and insert Cardi B's clip because it's literally everywhere. It's like
coronavirus, coronavirus,
all we're talking about. And that's how anxiety came knocking in. And so to give a little bit of what anxiety actually is, it's defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or just general unease, either of an imminent situation, so a situation that you just can't avoid, or an uncertain outcome. And I think that that's what's going on now. We are basically given information almost hourly from our media sources without full context and full information. So it's like anxiety is telling our prefrontal cortex that we need to stress out, and it's easy for our brains to try and fill in the blanks because we're not getting all the information. And so instead of being like logical and rational, like we go from 0 to 100 like real quick. We're at full-on dread. But then that left me wondering like how could this be? Because I wasn't at dread. I thought I was calm. I thought I was handling the situation fairly well. So how could it be that my natural reaction has been relatively calm, but my physiology is stressing out? Like, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm pretty sure that it's not a bunch of the Pixar characters and me running the mainframe of my body. So it took me back to school, and I remembered there's a psychological term that actually explains this. It's called social contagion. It sounds scarier than it is, but I'll tell you what it is. According to the Oxford Dictionary of Psychology, it's a social psychological term that's defined as the spread of ideas, attitudes, or behavior patterns in a group through imitation and conformity. It's also called behavioral contagion. So basically, what's happening is everybody else that is stressing out is making you stressed out, because we're posting and we're talking about the very thing that's stressing us out, And it's continuing the cycle of anxiety that is stressing everybody out. And so our own anxiety can be cued or triggered simply by talking to somebody else who's anxious. Their fearful words are like a virus itself that lands on our brain, emotionally infecting our prefrontal cortex and sending it out of control as it worries about everything from whether our family members will get sick to what our job situation is going to be. And so that's in just conversation. Now multiply that with your timeline. And every time somebody hears something on news, reposting and retweeting every detail, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, throughout the day. Their level of anxiety and stress is going to transfer over to you. And even think about like your body's, I know I have a calm voice, but think about like your body's reaction just in listening to me talk about anxiety. I'm sure that like you probably tensed up a little bit. You probably naturally, your heart started beating a little bit. You probably generally had a little bit of uneasiness or uncomfortableness in just the subject matter of anxiety alone. And we've only been talking for 6 minutes. So imagine being inundated with everybody's nervous energy right now. And then you're wondering why you're anxious. When we can't control our anxiety, that emotional fever sends a call out for another unwanted family member to slide through to the party. Panic. And so panic is defined as the sudden, uncontrollable fear or anxiety, often causing wildly unthinking behavior. We see that in our grocery stores. And so here's the formula. We're overwhelmed by uncertainty and fear of the future, anxiety. The rational parts of our brains check out. And so logically, we all know we don't need all of that toilet paper. But when we see somebody else fill their cart up, or we see on our timelines that it seems like there is a lack of, even though stores are still restocking every Wednesday, then their anxiety infects us, and then we bypass the vitamin aisle to build up our immune system, and we go straight into survival mode. And that's what panic is. The problem with this formula that I've had is that both anxiety and panic stem from the root issue of fear. And we all know how our country's track record is in responding in fear. So, how do we calm down? Take a minute to stop and just rest your thoughts a bit. All you need is like 5 minutes. And so just stop and breathe. The good thing is there's a lot of free apps out there at our fingertips. It could be something as easy as when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling anxiety, when you feel like your thoughts are racing, when you're feeling like you're scared, when you're nervous that you touched your face. Do you need to just chill a bit? Do you need to hop in the shower? Do you need to just grab a diffuser and smell in your favorite essential oils? Do you need to just put on your earphones and practice mindfulness? Mindfulness, just the practice of stilling your mind. There's so many resources. If you're a believer, the Bible app just hopped on board and they created a YouTube video, a series of YouTube videos that are coupling soothing sounds with the reading of Psalms. If you're not a believer, and you don't really, or you're just generally like me, it's not soothing for me when I have mindfulness to hear somebody talking. So for me, just a playlist of just regular sounds works. Or I've also practiced in quiet. So you could start out with 60 seconds. For some people, 60 seconds is just hard, to eventually going up to like 10-20 minutes of just being present in the moment and being quiet, and allowing yourself to just rest your mind. You can definitely find spa sounds on playlists on Spotify, Apple Music. So there's resources at your fingertips in that moment when you feel your mind going crazy, that you can just pause and take a minute and rest your mind. Or you can always listen to the soothing sounds of my voice, and I can talk you through, and you can relax in 5, 4, 3, 2. And so now that we've managed panic mode a little, logic can come into play. So the reason why it's so important to rest your mind is that it communicates to the prefrontal cortex that you're no longer in an imminent risk of danger. And so your body and your nervous system can slowly transition out of fight or flight response. And so what you can do at that moment is when logic can come to play, and you can do what Justin Brewer, a medical doctor, the concept that he brought to the table, which is bringing on a bigger, better offer. So since our brains naturally will choose more rewarding behaviors simply because they feel better, we can practice replacing old habitual behaviors, such as worry, with those that are rewarding. So for example, if you're like me, you touch your face. I've probably touched my face more than enough times to count just in this video alone. If I haven't, I deserve a pat on my back. But for those of us that constantly touch our face, if you start to worry, oh no, I touched my face, I'm gonna get sick, I'm gonna get coronavirus, you can, in that moment, take a deep breath and just ask yourself, when was the last time I cleaned my hands? And then you can remember that you just cleaned your hands, or you just used hand sanitizer. So is the likelihood of you actually touching your face going to automatically lead to a positive coronavirus screening? If you're practicing good hygiene, most likely not, right? So then you can stop stressing and relax. Just by taking a moment to pause and ask a question, we give our prefrontal cortex a chance to come back online and do what it does best, and think. And that's where logic comes back into play, and we can be rational again instead of living in hysteria. And when we can get to that space, that's where we can leverage and bring back in certainty. If we, in that example, if we've just washed our hands and haven't been out in the public, the likelihood that we're going to get sick is actually pretty low. It's less likely that you will get sick. The more we can see the positive feeling and effects of good hygiene and compare them to the negative feeling of the uncertainty of the likelihood that you might get sick, the more our brains can naturally move toward the former because it feels better. So naturally your brain is going to want to de-stress because it doesn't like to be in fight or flight for long periods of time. It's not healthy for our bodies. The second thing, just remember that even in this situation, it's just a moment in time. It's not a life sentence. This too will pass. So yes, be responsible in taking precautions and being healthy and keeping others healthy. Continue to practice good hygiene, making sure you're washing your hands, making sure that you're sanitizing things. If you're sick, be okay with seeking medical attention. Log off of your social media if you see that like you're inundated with negative things on your timeline. It's eventually going to make you think and feel negative. So log off. If you're in group, if your group text is staying in the same topic, refocus the conversation. You don't have to choose to remain to be surrounded by negative information. You can remain knowledgeable, but just make sure that as you're wanting to keep updated, that you're also researching full context of the information given. But also take this time with your loved ones as a gift. Families, you can bring back game nights. You can bring back the traditions of eating together at the table. Couples, you could turn to your spouse, actually find out what their favorite color is. And introverts, we're chilling. And everyone else, just relax and breathe and try to step out of self-preservation. But rather, this is a time to remain grateful, remain in gratitude that your resources are covered even in a time of crisis. And we can be compassionate for those that are affected financially in this situation. And lastly, but most importantly, I pray that the peace of God will surpass all understanding, because we are in a time where we have misunderstanding, we have lack of understanding, we have limited understanding, and in that, it's just causing worry. And that we weren't designed to be in worry and stress forever. So I pray that the peace of God rules and abides in you, that it covers you and your families during this time, that you can remember that this is still a time to be joyful, that it's still a time to persevere. We've been through crises before as a country. We will get through this situation like we got through all the others. It's okay to be outside and get some fresh air and vitamin D. Yeah, and it's gonna be all good. You will be okay. So I'll leave you with some scriptures and resources. And again, that's what this blog is about, is to remind us to breathe when the world wants to tell us otherwise. And I hope that you guys have a great